The stream has started. People can now see you.
Okay.
And Facebook has accepted the stream. Very good.
Now, when I'm done, I hit fade to black. Is that how?
Yeah, you see those little buttons
Yeah.
in front of you? You just hit fade to black. It shuts everything down.
Okay.
And, okay, Facebook has accepted the stream. Twitch has accepted your stream.
Okay.
YouTube has accepted your stream.
Okay.
Are you ready to go on the air?
I am ready.
Do you want me to give you the link so you can send it to your friends before the show starts? It's up to you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm asking Facebook to give me the link. Okay. Facebook is glad to give you the link. Now I'm going to send it to you. Okay, the link should be on your messenger page.
Got it. Yep.
Very good.
Oh, did you can you change the way that it's spelled Dat Show?
Yeah.
It should do like apostrophe lowercase d.
I'm not sure you can do it
Can you do it?
once the show starts. Sorry about that.
All right, next time.
Yeah.
We'll correct that next time then.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Okay. I am ready.
All right. Let me make sure your mic is correct. Yep, you're in good shape. Okay, now. Okay, you see the timer on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when it says on the air, you are on the air.
Okay.
Here we go.
Hello, welcome and greetings. My name is Daufhin. This is the very first inaugural podcast of the Dat Show, episode 1, the greetings and discussion. I want to say basically that this is the first time I'm doing podcasts, so please bear with me, everybody. And I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about myself. A lot of you out there seeing this may know me from the Buffalo music scene. I've played in several bands. I frequent Milky's a lot. It's like a second home to me. So I'm a vocalist, percussionist. So you may have seen me around either singing or playing with bands. And right now, I'm looking forward to some big shows coming up. and practicing and preparing for that. So I have a really, really busy schedule. But I'll start by telling you a little bit about myself, for those of you who don't know me well or know me in passing. I was born and raised in Wisconsin, so I'm a born and bred Wisconsinite. Wisconsin is a very different place, I'll say. I've been out here in New York since 1996. I lived in the New York City area for 10 years and came up to Buffalo in 2008, I believe. So I've been up here for 17 years now. And before that, like I said, I was born and raised in Wisconsin, basically in southwestern Wisconsin, which is very different from the rest of the state. When somebody asks you about Wisconsin, saying you're from Wisconsin can mean a whole lot of different things because the state is extremely different in places. The biggest city, obviously, is Milwaukee. So if people are from, like, say, the eastern part of Wisconsin, it's very different from the southwestern part where I grew up. Most of Wisconsin is, basically farmland, fairly flat in that, but there's a famous area of Wisconsin called the Driftless area, which is the southwestern portion, which is where I was born and raised. It's the area where the glacier basically didn't go in that area. It kind of made like a circle around that area. So the terrain is very hilly, very mountainous. We actually have a mountain called Wildcat Mountain. There's a famous bluff there called Granddad Bluff, which is enormous. You don't find that in any other part of the state. So, and where I grew up basically is Richland County. It's very desolate, the kind of place where when they ask you where you're from, you don't say a town or city, you say what county you're from, because there's nothing around. So basically, I come also from a musical family to some degree. My father was a very talented vocalist and musician, although he never played in a band per se. He could play the guitar, and he was, like I said, he sang. He sang harmonies in a barbershop quartet, so it's interesting about that because I didn't start singing myself until just the last year and a half. I've been a musician since I was a teenager, doing percussion, and that's kind of my main thing has always been percussion, but I never even considered the fact that I could sing. And then my best friend Dave took me to a karaoke night at Milky's, and despite my stage fright, I got there and I sang, and I kind of instantly found not only did I really enjoy it, but I also had a voice I never realized. So I've been developing that over the last year and a half. And the interesting thing about it is that I never really made that connection with my dad as a vocalist. But you know how music is, it's generally gets in the genes and it's passed down. So it was pretty obvious that I got some of his talent for singing. And we had my mother and dad both were huge into music, so I was raised in a house where music was always being played. So I got my appreciation for music pretty early on. When I was a teenager, I guess was the first time that I started, I made some musician friends in a church, my church actually. At the time, I was raised Catholic, went to Catholic grade school, actually did a year of seminary. which was interesting. Although I never was aiming to like go into the priesthood or anything. My family was Catholic, so I went through the whole Catholic thing. But I had a really close group of friends who were really like diehard born again Christians, and I didn't really have a lot of friends, and so they kind of befriended me, and so I hung out with them, and through them I started going to their church, and then I met like a couple of people who were musicians who played like basically like Christian rock, and so I kind of befriended, or they kind of befriended me, so I started going to gigs with them, and then started doing a little bit of sound work for them, and then they asked me to sit in and like play some percussion, and so I started doing that, and then I just started doing more of that on my own, and then from there, I mean, I just continued just doing different percussive instruments. Seemed like it came pretty naturally to me. Hi, I got a comment here. All right, Kelly. Oh, thanks, Kelly. Thanks for coming on and leaving a comment. All right. Yeah, I'll try. I really, the music has always been like my first love. And then I took a break for like 15 years where I was going through some stuff, and I put down everything. And I just kind of was detached from like everything. And then I came back to it here in Buffalo, and really gotten heavily into the music scene now, joined some bands, and I didn't even mention too, I've been married for like 17 years now, and my wife and I moved out to the country like last October. We bought a house in Wyoming County near Batavia. And my dream since I was like, younger playing music is always to have a dedicated practice space. And especially like the last like year and stuff since I'd been joined the band and music's gotten to be such a focus of my life. I've been wanting some place to practice, and so we bought this house, and part of the thing about the house was that it attracted me to right from the start was there's a detached building which is perfect for practice space. So we bought it, and over the last 8 months or so since we've been out there, I've been building this practice space, and I've got it about 90% done now, but it's set up. I got only PA equipment. It's set up enough where I've been able to use it for the last few months, and it's really nice having all your gear just set up there, and you can just go in and turn everything on and just jam, sing, practice, whatever. Just go in there and listen to music and like space out. I do that all the time too. Right now, it's starting to get hot, so there's no climate control in there, so I'm buying fans because I know it's going to get really sweltering in there in the summer. And although we're like in the country, and there's a couple neighbors just down the road enough where I can't really leave all the doors open, like when I'm practicing, especially like later in the day, or like they'll complain about the noise. So I pretty much got to keep them closed, and I have to like stop practicing at like 11 at night, not only for the neighbors but for my wife and for sleeping. Don't want to disturb the sleep, of course. But that's okay. I can deal with that. I can work around it. So that's what I've been doing. Okay, what else? Any questions? Go ahead and leave a question in the comments if you want. I'll try my best to answer them. An interesting thing. One of the things I did when I lived in New York City, I lived in Jersey City for like a number of years, but I also lived in Brooklyn, in Williamsburg area. I lived in Queens, in the Regal Park area. I stayed for a while in Manhattan. Not really anything permanent, but I stayed in some hotels, and I stayed with my girlfriend at the time who lived up 8th Avenue and 51st Street, or 57th Street, yeah. And I actually worked in the Bronx at a moving company for a while, so, and I lived on Staten Island for like a number of years. So I've been in every borough at some point, living or working. And then, like I said, Jersey City as well. My wife and I actually got married in this park overlooking the George Washington Bridge on Hudson River. So it's a really picturesque, really beautiful place. But one of the interesting things, when I did live in New York City for that time, I worked for some record labels, actually like 3 different labels. I was like the New York City liaison for, I did promotions and photography for the labels. I worked for Bloodshot Records out of Chicago, New West Records out of Austin, Texas, and then Bar None Records, which is located in Hoboken. So I got to do a lot of really interesting stuff. Go to a lot of shows, meet a lot of artists I idolized. Did some touring around the Northeast. One of the coolest things was I had flown down to Athens, Georgia for a record release party. That was really, really fun. And also the band called the Damn Wells, which is located out of Brooklyn. And I befriended the band, and I worked with them a lot over the course of a few years. It was, Alex Deason is the main songwriter, vocalist, guitarist. And I was at Maxwell's in Hoboken, which is, now it's defunct, which is a shame because it was a really great little club. Nirvana played there like on their, I think 91 tour. The Jesus Lizard opened up for them. That would have been a hell of a show. And that would have blown my mind if I was there, but wasn't even on my radar at the time. But they host a lot of great shows. But I went there to see Rhett Miller of the Old 97s. He's doing a solo performance, and then Alex was also doing a solo thing there. So I met Rhett and Alex, hung out downstairs, which, if you guys probably don't know, but Maxwell's is like a tiny, tiny club, like 250 capacity it was. And they didn't even have a backstage area. There's just like this little stage, like in a corner of the main room. And the artist area was actually in the basement. You had to like walk downstairs and go in the basement where they had like all like the stuff for the bar. Like you had like kegs and all kinds of supplies. And it was just like a dingy like basement, and with all that stuff there. And then they just basically had like some chairs set up in the middle of it, and that was like the artist area. It was really funny how like I always got a kick out of that, because there were some big bands that like went through there. Like I said, Nirvana went through there and different bands, but like there was no amenities like whatsoever. Like, before the show, you're literally sitting in a fold-out chair in the basement next to like some beer kegs, and that was like the artist area. I never remember even like having like any buffet set out, any like I mean, of course they got like comp drinks, but like there was no spread. There was like nothing like that they did, you know. So it was funny. But I was downstairs, and so I got to hang out with Rhett and Alex, and so Alex, like I said, was in this band called the Damn Wells, and so I kind of befriended him, and so I started going to like Damn Wells shows around New York, and they were just at the time putting out some EPs. I think it was right before their first record. It was kind of when I started getting to know them. The band was Alex Deason on vocals, guitar, Ted Hudson backing vocals, bass, Dave Chernus guitar, and Steve Terry on drums. Now, the interesting thing is that Steve Terry is kind of a minor celebrity in his own right. He used to be in this band called Whiskey Town with Ryan Adams. And I've always been a huge Whiskey Town fan. I mean, they started out in 95. They only lasted 5 years before they imploded, which a lot of great bands do. I mean, Nirvana was only around about 5 years even. And a lot of the best bands don't seem to last very long. But the Whiskey Town was kind of at the forefront of the alt country movement in the 90s. And they were actually touted as like the next Nirvana. I mean, they got so much critical acclaim in that as being, you know, the next big thing. And that was Ryan Adams' first major band. He was in a band in high school basically for a few years. It was called the Patty Duke Syndrome. They never even made an album. They made a few singles in that, but that was Ryan's first band, and then Whiskey Town was his first major band where they actually like made albums and stuff. But I was always a huge fan of them, and Ryan Adams in particular. So I knew the lineup of that. Steve Terry wasn't the original drummer. Skillet Gilmore was the original drummer, and then when Skillet left after the first album, Steve came in for their second full-length album, Stranger's Almanac, which is a brilliant album, and I always loved Steve's percussion work on that. So this was like 95. Well, Steve came in like 97. Okay, so I knew him, and I just was, you know, a big fan. So then I didn't even know this at the time, but when I befriended Alex and I met the other band members, I saw Steve, and I knew Steve's face from the album art and the promotional stuff that they did. So I was like, oh my God, this is Steve Terry. Wow. And I was just like blown away. And he's, you know, and so I actually hit it off with Steve right away, and we kind of you know got to be friends, and we hung out and we went to shows together and stuff, and I talked like endlessly about Whiskey Town with him, which I'm sure got annoying at some point. But everybody in the New York City area knew Steve from like Whiskey Town. His kind of celebrity even like overshadowed like Alex, who was like supposed to be, you know, he's the front man of the band, so usually they get attention, but like in this band it was Steve who like got all the attention. But it never really was a problem with the band. That's not why they broke up and stuff. I won't get into that because it's personal with the band, but yeah, so I toured around the Northeast a bit with the Damn Wells. I was basically like their roadie and photographer for a number of years. I've got like photo albums full of like photos I've taken of them back during those days. The interesting thing too is that there was a documentary made about the Damn Wells called Golden Days, which was made, I'm thinking like 2007 or so. They got signed to this is kind of like a similar tale like a lot of bands go through. But they got signed to Rounder Records, and this is still when I was like working with a band. I remember we were doing a show in Cambridge, Massachusetts, when they got the offer from Rounder, and Alex pulled me aside and told me about it. And then we went out to the van. He had just written a new song, so he was playing me like a demo of the song he written. And so he was telling me like, Rounder had like offered them all this money and stuff. So they went ahead, and I think they signed a subsidiary deal with Rounder. But then a major was interested as well, and they had a whole terrible experience. Like a lot of bands do, like have a little bit of success. The majors come sniffing around, and they'll scoop you up, but they totally screw over the band, and a lot of times it ends in the band's breaking up, which is very much what happened to them. I recommend going out, and the documentary's on DVD. It's probably streaming too, but go ahead and definitely check out the documentary. It's a really cautionary tale, but unfortunately all too common. I left New York City, and like I said, like 2007, 2008, and came up here, and I call it like my lost 15 years in that, but I was just going through some stuff, and it took me 15 years to straighten my stuff out. And then, got back into my music, made a lot of connections with people, and now I'm out and about in the Buffalo nightlife about 5 or 6 days a week. And I play percussion in the mini marching band, which is about 12 of us, and we play basically marching arrangements of popular songs. It's certainly not mini by any means. Like I said, we got like 12 people in the band now. Play all sorts of different instruments. We got trumpet players, we got a French horn, we got clarinet, we got a flute, we got a guitar, we got bass, we got keyboards, we got drums, we got maracas, and we're getting a trombone player, which we've been wanting for a while. Clarinet, I don't think I said clarinet. Yeah, clarinet, and then saxophone as well. But I play tambourine, cowbell, and woodblock. Are kind of the three I alternate between. We do a cover of Rock Lobster, which I get to shine on the cowbell. So I really enjoy that one because it's all about the cowbell. And I just love playing that. I've played bongos. I've sat in on some bands on that. And I sing. I don't sing in a band, but I'm part of Bellow Vocal Studios, which is in Orchard Park. You probably may have heard of Bellow Studios. They became kind of a big deal because one of our students was on The Voice a number of months ago and placed and got to like the final vote. She was on Gwen Stefani's team. Her name is Sydney Sterlace. And she got all the way to like the final vote, and she ended up, I believe it was third in the national voting. So she's become kind of a celebrity in her own right. But she goes to my vocal studio. So I've known her like before she even was on The Voice. She's now actually a vocal instructor at the studio. And with the all the attention and notoriety they got with The Voice, they've been like expanding, and they've had a big influx of like new students. I've been with them for over a year now, and I take weekly vocal lessons. And I mean, I've gotten to the point where I know what I'm doing. My voice has developed a lot, but I still like the lessons because I'm always, learning something new or developing something, and having the feedback of like a trained vocal coach is always very helpful because I always want to get better, as a musician, and that you're never satisfied. You always want to improve on something or go forward into new areas. So I do the weekly vocal lesson, and then we sing out different places as a group. Of course, we sing individually, but we do I just basically showcases. We do a lot of spot coffee gigs. We do some Wegmans gigs. Last Halloween, we had this huge showcase at the stage in Williamsville. Then this last February, we did a Valentine's showcase at the Cove in Depew, I believe it is, on Trans Road. We do Music is Art Festival, Taste of Orchard Park. We did Flowers of Sanborn last year. We just did the the Heart of Music Festival in East Aurora. And we I have to look at my schedule. We got a lot of big stuff coming up. So I really, enjoy that part of it, but, it's very different from performing. Oh, hey, Mick. Mick Rambo Hatton, I mean. Sorry, Mick Rambo Hatton. That's a great name. I like that. Thanks for coming on and leaving a comment. So I do the vocal thing and my band stuff. We played at Hot Mama's on the 7th, along with Sasha Fleet, Danny and the Planets, and Bobby Angel. That was a really, really amazing night. Oh, yeah, well, I actually enjoyed my time in Wisconsin. I didn't look at it as like a hostage crisis. It was nice to leave. I wouldn't want to stay there all my life. But I do look back at it with fond memories. Definitely. There were some good times there, and I love growing up in the country. So it was nice. It was really nice. But there wasn't a lot to do, and I certainly couldn't have like the music career I do now if I had stayed. But I was saying, I played Hot Mamas in the 7th with my band, but I sat in. Bobby Angel invited me to sit in with him, so that was a lot of fun. I sat in with Bobby, played Shaker and Castanets. That was interesting. I don't know if a lot of people know what castanets are. Castanets are basically little wooden kind of they look like seashells, and you hit them together. They're made out of plastic or wood, and you basically just kind of do that with them. Or you can, which is the way that I kind of do them, is you hit them, and they make a clacking sound. So Bobby had asked me to use castanets on some of his songs. So that was like a month before the show. And at the time, I had no idea what castanets were. I'd heard the name before, castanets, but I didn't know what they exactly were. So I got a pair of them, and so I started practicing over the course of like a number of weeks for the show, and got to be pretty good. I think I'm pretty good at them. But that was really cool. I always like playing with other people outside my band. It's really nice to be invited to play. That another musician, wants to include you in their music. That's very flattering. So I've got some other things going on. Some collaboration I'm working on with some friends right now. That we're I don't want to reveal anything, but yeah, we're working on some stuff, I'll say. Any more questions there, Kelly or Mick? Any questions or comments? Go ahead and leave them. Sorry, I had to take a drink there. I also want to say basically I'm not a huge fan of the summer. I never have been. I don't take the heat very well. Like I had mentioned before about the practice space and how much I'm not looking forward to sweltering in there in the summer. But overall, like I've had issues with heat before and had a heat stroke at different times. So I'm really hoping that this summer is not like really brutal like other summers have been. I have a close friend too who just can't take the heat. We were practicing in an attic practice space a couple of weeks ago, and she it was a hot day. It was a really hot day, and she just had to like sit there and take some moments. And that it was really affecting her. Started to get migraines and like it was. Yeah, she struggles with the heat even probably more than I do. Even so, when I moved up here, that was like one of the things I was like thinking about Buffalo, because when I lived in New York City, in Jersey City, like that got hot in the summertime, and being like it had a huge asphalt, imprint. What do they call that? With cities, huge cities, they get they trap the heat. With all the buildings and concrete and asphalt and stuff. Heat Island. Yeah, that's what they call it. Heat Island, which certainly would apply to New York City. So one of the things about moving up here, not at the time it was really affordable, but I was also thinking, well, it's going to be a little cooler climate. And I was all for that after sweltering every summer, like in New York City. And so it is a little bit, a lot more temperate, I'll say. Not as much as where I grew up. Surprisingly, like Wisconsin, in the part that I grew up in, was even like, because I still check the weather for that area in Richland County, and it's always even a little cooler than Buffalo, which it's at a... It's actually located at a more southern longitude or latitude. I know the one that goes across. It's in a southern line from Buffalo, but it's always like slightly cooler than Buffalo, which is interesting. Thank you, Mick. Like I said, this is my first podcast, so thank you for the tip. I'll keep that in mind. I have to keep that in mind. Remember that the camera is there. Thanks. What else should I bring up here to talk about. You got any questions? Go ahead, ask them. I have a cat named Max. Max is a special needs cat, and he's a Norwegian forest cat. I rescued him a number of years ago, like 3 years ago. He had been rescued by, I think it was might have been 10 Lives Club. It was one of those. They rescued him from a feral cat colony. He was getting abused by other cats. And then when I found him, he was listed on petfinder.com, which is a great resource. If anybody's looking to get a pet, I totally recommend going to petfinder.com. They're very good people, and they have pictures and profiles of cats, dogs, and stuff. And most of them are being fostered by people. Some of them are in organizations, not like private people that are fostering them, some are, but some of them are in like, I don't want to say shelters, but actually at like 10 Lives Clubs in different places. Max was being fostered by this woman in Lockport. She had probably about a dozen other cats that she was fostering. So when I went over, I'd seen the profile and communicated with the actual seller, which escapes me, but I think it was 10 Lives. Oh, by all means, Mac. Reach out to me on my Facebook page. My Facebook page, just search for my name. Let's see. Okay, so my name is Daufhin Thorndike. It's D as in dog, A U, F as in Frank, H I N as in no. Last name is Thorndike, Thorndike. Just do a search on Facebook and send out a friend request, and we can message about the show. Thanks for that. So I was talking about Max. So Max is interesting, very interesting story. So I went over to the foster place, and with the lady who was fostering him, she had the cats in cages, and I think she let him out for a little while, but he was actually in a cage. And when I went over there and I first picked him up, he basically like gave me this huge hug. He like I held him, and then he wrapped his front paws around my neck and like gave me this like tight squeeze. So I knew right then I was going to adopt him. But he had some health issues. Even like when I got him, he had like an ear infection. And according to like the organization I adopted from, he had always had ear infections like since they rescued him. Don't know if it was a result of being outside or if he was just always that way. Like I don't even really know how old he is. We just kind of approximate. Vets have kind of, given a general age that they think he is, but we don't know for certain. But ever since I brought him home, he's had one health issue after another. He's spent like his whole life going back and forth to vets. And he's constantly had these reoccurring ear infections. So I've had to treat those like constantly. He's always been on medication since I had him. And then he started growing like these his left ear was really bad. And his right ear was kind of had some infection, but the left ear was really bad. And then he started growing what they thought was polyps in his left ear, which we tried all kinds of things to treat him. And eventually he had a surgery to remove the polyps. And then the surgery was successful, but then they grew back. And then the vet realized that they weren't polyps, it was actually a tumor. And when it came back, it started growing so much so. Oh yeah, Mick, I'm just trying to figure this out. Here. Yeah, I'm still new on all this, on the equipment and that. This is the first time I've been here using this equipment. So please just kind of bear with me. Let me see. All right. I'll have to figure out how to do that. Let's see. But I give my name. If you want, just go ahead and look me up on Facebook. Then I'll try to figure out the computer stuff by the next time I come on. But I literally I'm here and I came and I didn't have time to really go over a lot of the computer stuff. But I'll figure that out, I promise. Yeah, she very well could have been a hoarder. I mean, her house it definitely had signs of hoarding. But I know the cats that she had she was fostering them from like a legitimate rescue organization. But I don't know if they knew how many she had. But you're right, it very well could have been Mick. So I had all these issues with Max, and he's like the sweetest cat in the world. I registered him as an emotional support animal. So he's got a national registry of that. So I can take him like anywhere I want in public. And Max is like so good because he never will try to run away. I take him out and stuff, and he just wants to be held in my arms. And I've taken him all over, actually. I've taken him into Walmart. I've taken him like into Tops. I even took him to therapy with me once because it was the same day as the vet appointment. So I just took him into therapy with me, and he sat on the couch next to me during therapy. I'm actually going to take him again on Wednesday because he has a vet appointment on Wednesday, and I have a therapy appointment then. So I'm just going to take him with me again to therapy. But they all love him there, and I never have to worry about him running. But yeah, all these health issues with him culminated in he had surgery again like 2 weeks ago, and it's kind of was the last resort. They ended up removing his ear canal. And the tumor I mentioned had gotten so big that it was actually puffing out the side of his face. So they needed to go and remove that. Plus he had a mass on his chest, which you could like feel. So they did this big surgery and they removed the thing out of his ear and then the thing on his chest. Now they were both like benign, they're non-cancerous, which was a big relief. But this tumor that they took out of the ear was enormous. It was like size of like a ping pong ball. And they put the thing in formaldehyde, and the vet showed me this after the surgery. And they took out the ear canal, like I said. So the thing was wrapped around like the ear canal in formaldehyde. And this thing looked so bizarre. It looked like an alien life form. I'm serious. You couldn't even like recognize like that as an ear canal because it was all wrapped around and looking all crazy and gross. But the surgery was a success. The thing, he's obviously deaf now in that ear, but like the vet said, with all the ear problems, he's probably mostly deaf anyways before the surgery, so it wasn't a big transition. But the other bizarre thing about that is that when they took out the ear canal, they sewed up the opening, so he has no opening in that ear. It's just like flesh, where like the opening should be for the ear. The other thing is that his ear is all like misshapen. So we called it the gremlin ear, which everybody always gets a kick out of. But it totally looks like something like from Gremlins that you see on like Stripe or one of the other Gremlins, which he's always going to have. And he initially had some, what we were afraid was like nerve damage in his left eye, because for the first week he wasn't even moving the eyelid, and it was totally retracted. So he had like this like bug eye, and you couldn't even see an eyelid. So we were afraid that it was like always going to be that way. I mean, I haven't given him eye drops in an eye, but thankfully over the last week, it's come down now to a normal position, and I've seen him move it. So he's getting that feeling back, and that reflex in his eye, which was a great sign. So he's doing good. He's got the cone on still. I'm seeing the vet, like I said, on Wednesday. So hopefully I think she's going to give Max the clear to take off the cone. He's healing up pretty well. So it's almost 8 o'clock. Got a few minutes left before I sign off. Any last questions or comments? Go ahead and put them up on the board. I'm going to try to do more of these podcasts. I've actually been wanting to do this for the last a few months, but my schedule is so crazy. I'm not usually available on the nights when the podcast is done. Like I said, I live near Batavia, so I'm commuting like an hour each way to Buffalo, mostly like 6 days a week. Oh, Pam. Hey, Pam. You joined us. Thanks. Yeah, better late than never. I only got a few minutes left, but I'm glad you came on. For Mick, I'm not, hopefully I'll meet you sometime. I don't know if you hang in the same circles as me, but yeah, Pam Schwartz is on now, and she's one of my best friends, so nice to see a familiar face show up on the board. So I was saying, yeah, so it's like an hour commute each way from where I live, and I end up being in Buffalo. Like, it's been like 6 days a week. The family needs me home at least one day a week, so Sundays I try to. Oh, okay. Yeah, I figured. I figured you were driving. Yeah. Yeah. So my schedule's crazy. I got band practice during the week. I got shows that come up. I got my vocal lesson. I got a night of karaoke I do every week, kind of to keep my voice in shape. I also co-facilitate a mental health support group on Monday nights, which is where I usually am. I had somebody fill in for me tonight. Otherwise, I would be over there. And then, yeah, right now it's pretty much 6 days a week where I'm busy. It's going to slow down a little bit going forward, especially after this the 21st. But yeah, the next opportunity I get, I'm definitely going to do the podcast again. So yeah, it's a shame you just came on, Pam, now. This is just about to sign off, but I'll keep you posted the next show. And Mick, yeah, send me a friend request. I'll friend you, and then I'll post on my Facebook the next time I'm doing the podcast. I also have a YouTube page, and the YouTube, let's see, my YouTube channel, okay, D as in dog, A, Thorndike, Thorndike, 4908. I have a lot of videos on there of me singing, some of my friends performing. So if you want, go ahead and check that out as well. Well, with that, I'm going to sign off. Thanks, everybody, for coming on, posting your thoughts and your comments. Appreciate it. I'll be back soon, so I'll keep you posted. So, signing off. Thanks, everybody.